children into the center. So this new task-based economy, the micro-work economy, allows them to plug into the virtual assembly line on their own terms when they want to. And this profound shift in the nature of work is what convinced me to quit my consulting job 2 years ago and found SamaSource, which is a nonprofit. Sama means equal in Sanskrit, and our mission is to connect marginalized people to work via the internet. To do that, we had to rethink the standard outsourcing model, which involved these really large contracts, and start viewing our workers as a large pool of highly distributed labor. And we built some tools to allow them to collaborate with each other and with us as if we were all working within one factory floor, within one of these big telecenters. So here's how it works. SamaSource receives a project from a client. We break it down into micro work, these little chunks of tasks, and then we send these pieces of micro work out to about 1,000 workers globally in computer labs run by local entrepreneurs in currently 6 different countries. So I'll give you a specific example. Every month in the US, tens of thousands of small businesses, from cafes to shoe repair shops to dry cleaners, are founded, closed down, or moved to new locations. Products like Google Maps or GPS navigation systems, they need accurate data to send you to the right place. And most of the time, the information already exists somewhere on the web, generally on the company's own website. So searching the web for basic information like an address is something that virtually anyone can do, even somebody with low literacy, as we found. And we've built a platform to enable this kind of work to get done in some of the poorest parts of the world. So this is the interface that we've built that a worker sees when she logs into one of our client systems. So we have a team in San Francisco that acquires this work from companies that include Ask.com and Google and Intuit. We load it into our systems, and then these workers log in from local computer centers and complete tasks. And we've really simplified the interface that they use. It's just a simple interface with links, and they go into each of these tasks and complete tasks by clicking on radio buttons and pasting stuff into text boxes. So you may not think that a few cents per task, which is generally what these tasks pay, is worth very much. But to some of our workers, when you aggregate those payments on a whole day or for a whole day, you realize that a few dollars a day is 300% of what they were earning before. What's most exciting is that this work is getting done from centers that look like this one in rural Haiti. We set this one up right after the earthquake. Or this one in a small town in India outside of Ranchi, which is the capital of Jharkhand. It's a mining state, and most of the jobs involve basic mining using practices that were outlawed in the West 100 years ago. Or this one in rural Kenya, which happens to be a Cisco networking academy, where Cisco's paid for the infrastructure and didn't have a way to turn it into a revenue stream for the local community. To date, we've contracted about $1.5 million worth of work, and we're close to paying out $1 million to workers in developing countries. And we've shown that people like these women in rural Kenya can escape poverty by selling their services into the global economy. So I thought I would end with a story about the broader meaning of work. Work, more than any other social program, is what I believe we need right now. And unfortunately, I've lost touch with my old friend Femi Abbas. I tried finding him on Facebook. There are like 3 Femis, and none of them look like the one that I mentored. But last year I met someone remarkably like him in the middle of a refugee camp in a place called Dadaab, which is near the Somali border in Kenya. To give you some context, Dadaab houses 300,000 people in a space designed for 1/3 that number. There are chronic shortages of everything from water to fuel for cooking and firewood. And in the middle of Dadaab, where you would least expect it, there is a computer lab that was built by a donor. There are actually 2 of them, one in the Ifo camp and one in a camp called Dagahale. And next to one of these centers, there is a satellite dish with questionable security around it. And inside one of these centers, there is a group of students, including this young man, Paul Barach. I met Paul in the summer of 2009. I read a study written by Oxfam on this impending crisis in the refugee camp, and I read there was a little footnote somewhere that online university classes using this new connectivity in these computer centers, then surely they would be able to do micro work. And surely there was a huge need for it in a place where everybody was making $1 a day. So I called up CARE International, and I found the number for CARE Kenya. They operate the camp. And miraculously, they let me join a convoy, and I went up to this camp and decided I would see if these workers could do micro work. And they gave me a batch of 16 students and said, you have 2 hours, see what you can do. And I taught the students how to use our interface to do really basic tasks for Microsoft, doing business listings, verification, the work that I showed you earlier. And I did not have high expectations. I thought, these young people have come from Somalia. Many of them have gone through stuff I can't even imagine in my worst nightmare happening to me. And how on earth could they do this work? And miraculously, their quality was better than what the client had seen from a similar crowdsourcing platform that employs Americans and Indian people. So it's really exciting. And one of the students was this young man named Paul, and I sat with Paul one morning and I asked him his story and was just astounded. Paul was a lost boy from South Sudan. He walked across the border to Kenya after having been forced to flee his family at the age of 9. He spent most of his young life bouncing around refugee camps and finally ended up in Dadaab after he'd been shot in the leg and paralyzed. And here's this young man wearing a pressed shirt. I have no idea how he pressed his shirt in the middle of this refugee camp, and I'm always astounded by how well Kenyan people and people from East Africa dress. And he showed up and he was just so motivated. And I asked him why he wanted to come, and he said, you know, I learned to use a computer about a month ago, and I'm so excited by all the potential it brings, and I cannot imagine that I could actually get paid for using this device. He was so excited by that. And what I realized is that beyond just the income and the work, this kind of thing provides people like Paul, with a sense of human dignity that they've lacked, a sense of being valued for their skills, when they've been told for the last 15 years that all they have to offer the world is being a number on a form in a refugee camp. A month ago, I sat in a bakery in New York that listed on its menu, among the gourmet tarts and quiches, $14 foie gras dog biscuits. I remember thinking about Femi in that moment, and Paul, and the countless other people I've met over the last 10 years who are lucky if they see that much money in a week. By liberating work and allowing it to be done anywhere, the internet is a platform for leveling the playing field. And most importantly, it's a platform for connecting the disconnected, the billions of people who live at the bottom of the economic pyramid. It's about connecting them to what they need most, which is work. Thanks so much.